Good evening, everybody. So we are live. We are live. We are live. Mr. Sikai, Mr. Sikai, are you ready? Your camera is off. I don't know if there's anyone with two devices as well. I can sort of like hear myself. I can hear myself. Is it Mr. Sikai? Getting ready. We are live. We are live. We are live. So those that want to share the live uh, video, they can do it. They can share it on their Facebook pages and stuff. If you want it, I can send the link to you. But while at least we're waiting for
Good, how are
Sikal,
you?
I mean, we can continue.
Mm-hmm.
So, good evening to viewers. Good afternoon. Good morning. Wherever you are, wherever you're watching. Um, we're here today with the panelists and stuff, and tackling this topic, which says, are most of African countries overwhelmingly losers on resource extraction? And then they say where there's a problem, there's a solution. So how do we develop a mutual, respectful relationship with other nations across the globe? To ensure that the nations of Africa benefit more from their resources, from their precious resources, because that's what other countries do. They benefit from what they have, and so also Africa deserves the best. Um, so that is the topic today. So before we diving into the topic, obviously we'll do brief introductions to all our panelists and stuff. I'll go one by one. Just tell us who you are and what you do. Um, just in brief. Thank you. So we'll go with Miss 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 Ayo Osobu.
So hi everyone, I'm Aya Joy. I'm a clinical research scientist. I also have a passion for Africa and driving change within our continent. And I would like to see a change happen as soon as possible. Hopefully, we'll get there.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Nzima. I know you don't want me to call you Dr. Divan Nzima. What do you do? You're on mute. You're on mute. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, sir. I don't like you calling me that because sometimes it gives the impression that I know things when I actually know nothing. You know. So my name is Devan. I work at the University of the Free State in the Department of Sociology in South Africa.
Thank you. Anything that you do, what are you passionate about?
Well, my primary research is on the sociology of development, as well as population studies and migration. And I've recently developed a new passion for African politics, particularly looking at the nature and forms of contestation for power
Hmm.
in the political realm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Miriam Farais. Well, I know you're passionate about children and stuff, and you're doing a lot over there in Zimbabwe to empower young people so they can be more
Thank,
responsible. Just
thank
tell
you
us.
so much. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Dr. Miriam Farai Siwela. I'm the CEO of Teach for Zimbabwe, which is actually number 55 out of 60 global network partners, all dealing with the leadership, youth development. I'm very passionate about the crisis in education, And actually, that's what I did. My PhD at the University of South Africa was on that. So for me now to actually be in the space where I talk about the crisis of education in Zimbabwe, in my continent, I'm very excited. So thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Emily, over to you.
So I wear
There's,
quite a
there's,
few hats, but
yes,
I'll just
yes.
say, in context, I serve at Voice of the African Child, and my interest or passion rather is international law. I have a passion for the children in Africa, seeing their development, their access to primarily education. So I'm quite passionate about resources of Africa because I believe the children need to not only know about them, but they need to attain their own self-determination in managing them and having a responsibility to these resources and taking ownership. But that can't happen without them being educated about what they already have. Instead, they're living as if they're poor, and yet they're actually quite wealthy. So yeah, that's why I'm here tonight.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the other thing I think that we are all interested in is your recent magazine. I think as we continue to discuss, we would like you to tell us about this invaluable, informative magazine. Thank you. Over to you, Stanley. Yoni.
Thank you. So my name is Stanley, and I am Zimbabwean, currently living in Stockholm. And I am educated as an engineer from the University of Zimbabwe, worked a lot with infrastructure development, and but have been passionate about sustainability, the environment, and social development. Lately, I run a program on leadership development. And what I'm really passionate about is that every human being should step into their leadership potential, their power to create a future that they want, and they should do that from love. And I'm passionate about the African continent. How can we develop a leadership that allows for what I'm talking about, leading from love, but also doing it for the benefit of our communities?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sikyle, you are on mute, and your video is off. I don't know if you would like to switch it on.
In fact, I sent a message. I'm at work, so I just tried by all means to make sure that I don't miss this program.
Oh, okay. Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you. We understand now.
I'm trying by all means to make sure that I participate in one or the other way around. Thank you so much. My name is Skyde. I'm from Zambia. Just a neighbor, or rather the brother to Zimbabwe. I don't know if they are brothers or sisters, because it's like two countries, all of them having their first letters as said. So we don't know whether one is a sister or a brother. At the end of the day, it's a great pleasure to be in this discussion. My focus is on Africa as a continent. The welfare of an African citizen, the future generations to come. So I do advocate for good governance and human rights. I've been with Amnesty International for, I would say, since 2015. And most of the times I do concentrate so much about issues that surround Africa as a continent, because you cannot go and sort out people's problems minus attending to your own problems. So that's my area of concentration. And I do political analysis. And so I have tried, like the past 7 years, I've tried to give my own opinions on areas that I feel that Africa can do better and also become the most competitive continent, especially that we are the most richest continent. So we need to underline that the most richest continent. I think for me, that's something that bothers me so much. That what are we doing with the riches? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think you're kickstarting our topic now, because the main topic is we as an African continent, we know that we when it comes to the world population, we've got about, I think, 13% of the world population, and then it's just 2% of its cumulative gross domestic product. But what we know now about Africa is that 15% of it produces 15% of planet's crude oil resources, and then even 40% gold, and then 80% of platinum as well. And then there's other resources like diamonds. We're rich in diamonds. You talk of copper in Zambia, that's what we spoke about earlier on. Iron ore, we have it. So now the question is, where are we getting it wrong? Because we are the richest continent. When you look at other continents, they're doing better than us. They've got infrastructure, education system is working well in Europe and China and all these other countries. But the converse is true in our continent. Yet we've got all these resources. So now the first question is why? Before we dive into maybe the solutions and stuff, why? Where are we getting it wrong?
Anyone
who wants to
Can
come
I?
in first? You want to come in first? Yes, Kyle is at work. Probably we
Yes.
can come in first and then come back later.
All right. I think for me, we are not ambitious in the first place as a continent. We are not ambitious, and this should always bother an African. If you really love Africa as a continent and you are proud of who you are, being ambitious should be one of the things that we really need to work on. There's so much that at the end of the day, Africa has, but we have never taken advantage.
Yes. Oh, I think it's because he's at work. He will come back with his points.
Maybe I can step in here and challenge your question, because what do we mean when we say Africa is lagging behind? Are we talking about that our people are not happy? Are we talking about our people are not healthy? Are we talking about that our communities are broken? Or are we talking about that people are hungry? Are we talking about that we are fighting with each other? I think we need to challenge some of these assumptions that we are not doing very well, because one of the things that I value a lot about being in Africa and an African is the sense of community.
Yes, Ubuntu, togetherness.
Take care of each other. Right? And I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yes.
So that's one important thing for me to think about when I think about, okay, in the service of what? We want to develop in the service of what? We want to develop so that we can chase the money and so that we can come back and feed our children, so that we can have time to make communities. But we have communities already in most cases. So let's be careful about what is it we mean when we say Africa is behind.
I think if we're talking about resources today, I think what Kanzanani would mean, as I understand it, is that if we look at what we have as a continent in terms of wealth, the life African people are living is disproportionate to the wealth that we have. Yes. So yes, we've got Ubuntu, we've got our communities, we've got family, but we've also got our healthcare is not so great.
Yeah, it's poor.
Our education, and I know you could define education how you want, but there's so much poverty, there's so much poor health, and most of it is because we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the capability. And why we don't have it is because we supposedly don't have the money, but we have the money. But the lifestyle we're leading as Africans is totally disproportionate to what we already own in terms of resources. So I think I would say that's what you mean in this context. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you've answered. Dr. Nzima wants to say something, or we can go with Stanley.
Yeah, I just want to say something because I think the conversation might go on until my time to leave. So I think we all agree that Africa has got resources, mineral resources. But I think the reason why Africa seems not to benefit much from these resources is we really do not see the role of these resources in our day-to-day lives. Other than the fact that these things bring money, no one knows what gold really is used for. No one knows what platinum is really used for. No one knows what chrome is used for. So we really do not know how these minerals affect us on a day-to-day life. So most of the people in Africa actually do not care about these things because even before the colonialists came into our countries, we did not really care about these things that much. We did not place that much value into these things. So we find ourselves in a world where we are now told that our wealth comes from these things. And we've been coerced into this system that values these things that we don't really see their role and part in our lives. So it is difficult now to actually put these resources into good use because all we know about them is that they can give us money. Beyond that, we don't know why we must value them. So until we know really how these resources intersect with our daily lives, until we know the true value of these resources or what value they can add into our daily lives as Africans, we will continue to have people smuggling gold out because they want to be big and have the status of having wealth amongst their fellow community members without really benefiting, the community as in totality. So we need to have a plan. And right now, we do not have that plan because we have not really seen the value of these things.
Okay. All right.
I would love to come in because I'm agreeing in part to what you are saying. Definitely, it's all about the knowledge. Everything starts with the knowledge. As an African people, we've always known the secret to development is collective collaboration. We've always said it takes a village to educate a child. And we also know that there is need for collective collaboration of leaders. But as Africans, we don't know that knowledge that we have 5 types of leaders. We've got the political leaders, we've got the religious leaders, we've got the corporate leaders, we've got the community leaders, and we have the youth leaders. So that type of knowledge and the knowledge to understand that we have to work collectively so that we understand from primary production, we go to secondary, we go to tertiary, and each and every one of us has a role to play. So this critical knowledge has never been available to my grandfather. It was not available to my father. It was not really available to me. But for the first time now, because of the brain drain, we are fortunate in a way because the brain drain has allowed majority of our people to actually be in those spaces where they know the value of these items. All the minerals, the oils, they know the value. But now we lack that attitude to say, I'm still, even if I become a British, an American, a citizen and so forth. Behind, I am still an African. I still need to go back and understand what is it exactly in my home. But we quickly point fingers to say, no, it's only one leadership. And yet go back to your communities where the gold and the minerals are. But at the end of the day, we are not using that leadership. So for me, I'm very passionate about youth leadership because I believe more than anything, out of those 5 types of leadership, our youth are the ones that in a space where we can leapfrog, mainly because of the digital world that we are in. They are also exposed to the international community. They are willing to learn. So for me, it's not too late. If we can harness and have that attitude that it's collectiveness, instead of being so fixated in one leadership, that everything is a problem because of one leadership. And yet we've always believed it takes a village to educate a child.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, can I come in, please?
Okay. Who wants to come in?
Skyler here.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. I wanted to throw another question. I'll throw it after you.
Okay. Yeah, basically, I was trying to stretch out a certain point, and I don't know. I'm trying by all means to catch up here and there. So, for me, I think from what I've seen around, we are not ambitious as Africans. I'm using the word "we," meaning that everyone has a role to play at the end of the day. We as Africans are not ambitious. The waste is coming from most of our leaders. So I've said we, meaning every African, that now we have other leaders that are supposed to lead us for us to achieve a certain goal. And we have read the African history and we have seen what is there on our continent. But I'm still surprised that today we still feel comfortable to have a budget. Every year, an African government will sit to draft a budget whose 90% of it will depend on donors. And these donors, very powerful countries, where are they getting resources that they actualize to make that money that we are going to borrow? From Africa. And then I've seen there is my brother there, Mr. Stenel Nyoni, those that we can call my brother, that at least have been there before us. And especially being in his field and other stuffs, convince us today that we are going to continue borrowing. Since you was the time when you are youths, you are borrowing, and you have grown up, the country is borrowing, until you are going to leave us borrowing. But the question is, for how long? All the resources are coming from Africa. Now, the question that I've asked myself, even when I did an article, there's an article which I did in Arise Africa magazine, I asked it to say, why do our leaders fail when they sit down, they sit on the round tables with, let's say, China, to say, okay, China, you want to invest in Africa? Yes. You want to invest in Zimbabwe? Yes. Okay, we have a gold mine there. Mine the gold, get 50%, and we also get 50%. There is no leadership that can ask such preferences. The other issue that I have a problem with is that we have seen the countries today that are giving us, that claims to give us donor aid, having all kinds of sophisticated technology, and saying, we are here to help Africa. We want to partner with Africa. I'll cite again China. I'm not trying to be against China, but I'm just trying to cite these as practical examples. China has got very sophisticated technology. But in all African countries where they are reaping the resources, they are getting the natural resources, they do not want to set up those technologies so that our children, the young generation, they can learn that. So I come back to Dr. Miriam to say, we really need to revisit the leadership that we have if we are to see something better for Africa. the decision that our leaders they are making out there,
Mm.
in whose interest, Mr. Moderator? At the end of the day, you'd find that, for me, I see, when I look at China, when China gives us 1 billion kwacha, they say, I'm a Zimbabwean, I'm an African. China gives us 100 billion, and $1 billion. I'm very certain that China will leap out of Zimbabwe more than $10 billion. So, for me, that's my area of interest where I feel something is wrong. And I'm not going to blame these people that are doing this to Africa. It is we as Africans. The way some of us were in the diaspora today, we don't want to be associated with Africans. We want tribal music to change everything. It's just that, we can't tribal music to turn the skin into something. But I've seen Africans within 2 months, within a year, outside their continent, trying to behave like they were born in the Western countries. We are messing up from there. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sikal, to challenge our leadership, and thank you, Miriam, for putting more emphasis on education. That we need to educate ourselves, and so we can understand what we possess and what we own, so we can use it accordingly. So my question as well, it was related to what Sikal was saying. I just wanted to throw it out there that yes, we've got little knowledge. We said we've got little knowledge about what we have and stuff, but deals are going on at the moment. So our leaders are the ones that are signing these deals and stuff. But we've come to understand that the money that they get, it's only controlled by the people that are controlling the state. So when it comes to distributing it, to other departments like health department, education department, it doesn't happen a lot. But when you look deeper, where they invest where their own interest is. And they've invested heavily. Some of these states, they've invested heavily in the army, but not in education or health. I can even, mention even figures like in 2000 and, I think 10, Africa made at least 333 billion. All these multinational companies, they made profits of 333 billion from these resources and oil. And then they come in to give us maybe like eight, which is 7 times less than that money. And they say Africa is a burden. So why is it, such things are happening under our watch, and our leaders are the ones, allowing such things to happen? What we need to do about that? What are
Uh,
your thoughts?
I'm going to be going in 15 minutes. Let me just
Okay.
say this. Well, I think we have a very big problem as Africans because we are playing a game that we do not understand. A game that is not ours, a game to which we do not even know or understand the rules.
Mm,
I could call that game neoliberalism. You could call it capitalism or whatever it is. You could call it neocolonialism, whatever it is. But the arrangement or the form of life and system that we are currently surviving under is not ours, and we do not understand it. Most of our countries went to the wars of liberation under the banner of socialism, fighting, the colonialists. And upon liberation, they jumped into the bandwagon of neoliberalism. And they don't know the rules. All they know is that they have to look good to the West. If you look the other way, you are looked at with skepticism, And all
mm,
these people that come after we've gained our independence are actually people who have knocked on doors and we let them in, Because the only thing that we understand is that we must be somewhat a democratic countries that can attract foreign investors. When someone is an investor, they come in and they plant their capital and they expect to reap rewards. They are not here to help you. They are here to make profit. So the biggest problem that we have is that we are always looking outside for people to come and serve us, either as investors or as donors. So and then at the end of the day, we cry and say we are not benefiting. How do we expect to benefit when we have not done anything that leads us to benefit? Now, we cannot do anything until we understand who we are as Africans and what makes us to be happy and to be in harmony. But the only problem that we have now, I mean, when I say we have, I mean all of us as Africans,
Yes, yes.
myself included, um, uh, ruling parties and opposition parties included. All that we understand is that we must have money. Because if we have got money, we are going to live comfortably. Everyone right now is sitting wherever they are, whether in offices or positions, because they want to get money. And those ones who have been fortunate to sit in positions of power, they are going to put a lot of money into the armies, because the armies are going to be their tools to secure their wealth and power so that they continue to have money and live comfortably. So as Africans, we must go back to try and understand who are we. You know, an African is happy when he is in harmony with nature, with the environment, and this is good for his spirit. But now we have been forced into a corner to play a game that we do not understand. So we have to go back and understand, what is it that makes us tick? Is it the resources like gold? Is it diamonds? Is it money? We have to trace our steps back. How do we live our lives as Africans? What kind of leadership styles work for us? At the moment, there's nothing that is for us that we are living. Even the languages that we are using are not ours. Right now, we are speaking in a language that is not ours. So we have been derailed from a path that is our own. That is why we will always complain and say things are not working, because we don't know what we are doing. Someone right now was talking, I think it's Skyler, was talking about when people are negotiating deals, China will come and take everything. But there was a time in Zimbabwe where there was an indigenization policy, where the government said everyone who comes to invest, 51% must belong to the country. Calls for nationalization. But all those are opposed. The moment someone raises those ones, they're authoritarian, they're regime, you know, they're opposed. But when we make deals again and we allow these investors freedom, we also complain and say they're taking everything. So what is it that we really want as Africans?
I think if I can just...
Yes, please go
I'll
ahead.
come in quickly, then I'll bring you in, Dr. Miriam. I think from what I've been hearing, two words come to mind, and one is ownership. I think although we've been educated in one way or another, we've never really been told what exactly ownership means. We have not individually taken ownership of what is ours. And if you take ownership of what is yours, you know how to manage it. Followed by responsibility. The responsibility is just a split word, the ability to respond to something. So we haven't taken ownership of what is ours. We've probably taken ownership of our land, so we do agriculture because that's where we get our food from. But we haven't taken ownership of our resources, minerals, and all that. That's why Sikeli was saying someone comes in, does a deal. We let them do the deal, go and take the raw material, make it, process it, bring it back, because we haven't taken ownership. And Dr. Sikwela, we spoke about it last night, and I'll bring you in now, I'm sorry, moderator. Where we said, I grew up in two countries. I grew up in Zambia and Zimbabwe, later on in Mali, which are full of minerals, but I've never seen a copper. I've never seen gold. We learned about it in geography. There's copper in the copper belt. There's gold. There's this dike. It was all here. So to us, it was just some abstract mineral out there. The first time I saw a mineral, I think I was at an airport in Rwanda, and some people, no, in Congo, and these barrels were coming out, and we were looking, what's that? Someone, oh, that's this. I said, is that gold? Is that diamonds? But I was an older person. I'd never ever seen, up to now, I'd never seen gold except in a ring or in earrings. So our education, this is why I bring you, Dr. Sikwela. What type of education? I don't know. Even my granddad never told me this is copper, this is gold. We just had no ownership, so we couldn't respond. We couldn't respond responsibly, and hence others have come in. They've seen it and they've taken over. So now we need to go back to ownership, and then put in terms, regulations, licenses, and terms, and everybody who comes in must come on our terms. Because at the moment we are functioning on a legal framework that was brought in by imperialists. We need to do a judicial review, change it around to be on our terms. And now my question is on education. And I don't know what type of education we're going to bring in now to let these children know.
I love what you're saying about ownership, Emily, and being responsible. And unfortunately, we keep on being in denial. Statistically, I keep going back to say the first education, which I think we should accept even on this platform, is that if we have 1/5 of a stakeholder maybe not doing the right thing, not being able to make the right contracts or education, whatever it is, but we've got 4/5. We've got these 4/5. What are they doing to educate us in terms of ownership? We as Africans, we like to we are playing this blame game. And so it's so nice, we feel comfortable to say, oh, but the way it's not my fault, there's nothing I can do because that other person is doing so and so. So we are actually Teach for Zimbabwe. We are actually doing that with our youth because we recruit every year young people, only graduates by the way, and we place them in the most marginalized communities and we teach them. I'm taking ownership to say the problem in my continent is because I have not done enough to go to 60% of my people. I'm the one who is an elite who benefited from everything, from 86, free education, everything. But at the end of the day, I am just a minority. 60% of my people do not have this knowledge to say, what are the diamonds? What are the minerals? What are the oils? What are the gases? What is out there? So as long as I'm going to point a finger at somebody else and I'm so comfortable that, oh no, it doesn't affect me. We need to talk about the finance that the religious leaders have. What are they doing with that finance? We need to talk about the corporate sector. We need to talk about the local NGOs and international. And say, what is it that we are doing? The 4 of us, if the other one is so bad, yes, we agreed that 5th one is bad. What about the 4 of us? What are we doing? So this particular knowledge that my grandfather didn't even know he was sitting on top of minerals, on top of diamonds, like what you're saying, Emily. But you have the power, especially you in the diaspora. We've got digital, which can actually, jumpstart us. My question is, do your people in your communities know what you are talking about? Do they know even the basic thing that you have learned in those countries that you are living in? That yes, a gold chain, just having a little piece of a mineral. In fact, let's not even talk about gold. In our book here, we name over 40 different types of minerals. Over 40. And that's the education that we want. But as long as every time we sit down to find a solution, we are talking about one leadership, we have already failed because we are going to go home and sleep comfortably saying, yeah, after all, I've got no role to play. So my people, I think one thing is, let's remove this denial. Let's know about ownership, what Emily is talking about, responsibility, and join with us, especially at Teach for Zimbabwe, and say, we are right there in the community. Let's educate our people. Starting from your home, your rural home, which you have a stigma. Most of you have a stigma about your rural home. You've got a stigma about the rural people. So let's start there, because everybody, if I show you my book, every one of you have got a mineral at the back of your rural home. My question is, what have you done about it? Because you know more than those people that you have left at home, more than us.
Excellent.
That's great.
thank you, thank you, thank you for that.
I just have
Okay,
1
Zima.
minute
Yeah.
and I'm leaving. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Suela. You actually are hitting the nail in the head. I was just going to leave by you with this message that, in my opinion, if we really want to see change, we must be the change. We must, if you do not like decisions that are being made, be part of that decision making structure so that you can make the decisions. So you cannot complain forever. You must find somewhere where you can make a contribution and contribute. You know, brick by brick, we are going to get to where we want to go. So we can't fold our hands. Let's get in there, get our hands dirty, do something, start small in your communities, be part of that decision-making structure.
Yeah.
If it's politics, join it if you are closer to it and be part of it. If you're an academic like some of us, you know, don't just sit in your offices, but also reach out to structures that are actually influential and you know, give your advice where possible, so that we can reach this ideal, you know, place where we want to go. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Okay.
Can
Thank
I
you.
just say
Thank you
something?
for that. Sikai, I'll come to you. I'll come to you. Just
All
to
right.
recap what has been said, and then we'll go to Ayo as well. She's been quiet in the corner there, and then Stanley has been listening, attentive, listening as well. So yeah, I mean, I understood Stanley when he said Ubuntu. Yes, Ubuntu is something that we want to keep as a people. But then, as a people as well, we also learn from other people. We're now a global community. And then we now understand that other things now, they've got value and stuff. And we have to tap into that, you know, and do something about it, right? Because when you look at, continents like China and all these other nations, they didn't lose their cultural values and stuff, but they also understood what it means to own resources, etc. And they also took their children to other nations to go and learn, about certain trades and stuff. And what did they do with that knowledge? They took it back to their country. And that's why they're even better today, because of that knowledge. But they didn't lose their culture and all these other things. So this notion of saying we never knew about what you call minerals and stuff, it doesn't add value. Now we know they're valuable and they are sitting in our backyard. We have to make use of them. But it doesn't mean that we're going to lose our Ubuntu. We're not going to lose our Ubuntu. We are going to use those mineral resources to empower our communities, and that is what we're talking about. So we can be like all these other nations. You look at Dubai as well. Dubai was nothing, but they put their heads together. They transformed their mindset. They understood the value of coming together and empowering their communities, and that's where they are today. But us as Africans, we've got the assets, we've got everything, but we are sort of like disjointed. We are not understanding what we have and how to use it to empower our communities. We're just like individualists. We get the money, we put it in our pockets, we forget about the next person. So that has to change. So before going to Stanley, I'll want to hear what Ayo has as well, and then Stanley, we go to Sikyle, and then we'll try and wrap it up by highlighting the things that we can do, so we can resolve all these issues, because where there's a problem there's always a solution. So over to you, Ayo, and then Stanley.
Yeah, I think I have agreed with everybody's points, in particular the doctor. I think that if we do place a lot of emphasis on education, we could actually make more leverage with our minerals with other countries. So I think with the youth, it is very good to educate them with economic geography. So just giving them like the basic backgrounds to each mineral, specifically like what the doctor is doing. So you're giving them the background education, the background reading as to what each mineral is and the benefits that would have for our continent. And I think with that information that they've gathered, they can then make more informed decisions and
Decisions, yes.
choices in the future as, you know, prospect leaders themselves. They can make more thorough decision as to where they're spending the wealth within our continent and which deals they're going to then take with other continents. But yeah, I think education is the main thing to building leverage within Africa.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Stanley. Then we'll go to Sikal. He's got some points. I think he's burning.
No, I just want to congratulate the Dr. Suela about the program that she's running with education, because it's really critical for our people. And then I have a question. My question is about what we are talking about when we are talking about minerals and Zimbabwe especially. Zimbabwe is one of the most educated countries in Africa. And it is also one of the most mineraled countries in Africa. And it is also one of the most troubled countries in Africa. You know. So then where are we going wrong? Which is the question of you are asking us in this podcast.
Yeah.
Where is it that we are going wrong when we come to Zimbabwe? And I think that somebody said something about educating a man without religion and you educate a thief. In our case, it's not educating a man without religion, but it's educating a man without values.
Uh-huh. Now we're talking.
Without values, you educate a thief. It's not only that, it's also that I know a lot of Zimbabweans who are troubled by the fact that they are educated, but they don't see the value of that education today. You know, I have seen them going mentally ill because of the expectations that was built by the education, and they don't see this. You know, I have lost a few relatives through that mental illness. And so the question here is, maybe we need to relook at the education from the beginning, the primary, all the way up to university, to think about what is it that we can bring into that education that really brings the spirit of being a Zimbabwean or being a Zambian back to the center here. You know, I was in a discussion once with somebody who said our education has taught us how to separate things. You know, we know that there's a forest here, there's a mineral here, and there is the soil there. But as Africans, when we were growing up, when I was growing up, we had the spirit of the land, connected to the spirit of the land. You know, and we understood that these things are connected. And today, I think that a lot of young people, they don't get that. And the question is, how do we bring that back? Because this is what we are educating people in Europe today. Reconnect to the spirit of the land, to reconnect to the fact that things are interconnected. That's why we're in trouble with climate change and the problems of the world today, because we separated things. Yeah. And the other fact which we talked about, Dr. Suela, was the spirit of collaboration, which is inherent in the Ubuntu ways of doing things, which is what we are again teaching people in Europe today. How to collaborate for the benefit of the good, of the common good. Yeah. And we have that inherent in the way we are brought up. We have that inherent in our communities today. But we are not learning that today. We are actually learning how to separate and not collaborate, to be competitive, so that we can take advantage of the mineral resources that we have and win in a game that we actually don't understand, as somebody said. So this is where I am challenging us to really look at, okay, we have this education system, which I'm surprised when I hear Emily say she didn't know all these minerals, because we knew these minerals. Some of the things
No,
we have
I
never
never
seen.
saw. I didn't see it with my eyes.
Yeah, some of the things I haven't even seen today after having lived, for 20 years. Things we were learning about in the science classroom.
You actually saw the gold?
I know. I'm saying I didn't see
visual.
them. Some of them I haven't seen them up to now because we spent a lot of time learning things that don't exist in our communities. You know, so it gave me nothing to know that how a TV works because I didn't have a TV at the time. Yeah, but we spent a lot of time on that. So
And
what I'm saying, let's really evaluate the
just want to make a
education
point which has been very painful to me, especially working in the rural areas. You find that they look like areas that are deserted. People are almost, daily wanting to run away from those areas. And when their kids come from the diaspora, they go away. And when they go qualified to be in the diaspora, to be in Zimbabwe or Nigeria, to have these good jobs, but rural areas. And yet in Europe, I stayed in Europe. The most thing that can say what's happening, that your schools are totally neglected. Your rural areas, you have a stigma, you just run away from them. So at the end of the day, the cream of our people, the most educated of our people, they are the ones that are all these very resourceful areas. But then you cry out now, this is where I don't get. You are deserting your school. Everyone's got a rural farm. You are deserting. And then you see, by the way, even if it's not a Chinese, it will be a European, it will be a Russian, it will be a German, it will be somebody else coming to your community. But then you say, what are they doing there? But you are the biggest culprit. So let's start there. Basic things like, they don't have the basic things which having stayed in Europe, or staying in Europe, you know those things, that it will not take you, a lot of money just to upgrade your schools. To just say, here I am, can I just put even flowers, or can I put Wi-Fi here? Can I help with the toilets? But we have the audacity to go and talk about other people who we know might have a challenge. That's why I actually went to Europe in the 70s, came back to Zimbabwe, then I went again, like my parents are still in the UK. I went to South Africa, I've traveled to France, I've traveled all over the world. But I said, no. I'm going to stop pointing fingers. Come to Zimbabwe, I'm inviting you. If you come to Zimbabwe, let's go to those rural areas. When we have started fixing your rural home, then we can start talking about what others are doing. When we now start calculating how many religious organizations, they've got so much money, because 86% of our people are religious. Who is doing the monitoring and evaluation of where that public money is going? Because it is public finance. So I'm just appealing to you, look inwardly. Show me that you've done so much in your communities. Then we can start from there. And by the way, I'm looking for MP3s. I'll tell you more about the MP3s that we are giving to the primary and secondary. Because many of our youths are not able to be at schools because of rains, because of strikes, whatever. So what we do, we record the lessons, and then we give these like Walkmans to these young kids, and they go out there while they are tending cattle or while they're doing their chores. They're listening to an MP3 which costs $5. And yet we are running short of that.
Oh, she lost connection. Will you share connect? We share connect what do you call it, email addresses for us to connect, because I would like to talk to Dr. Samuel about.
I would love that. Yes. And network is getting bad. Sorry.
Yeah, I would like to sew into this as well. I'd like to sew into this.
Yeah, we will definitely do that. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done. Not MP3s only and stuff. And I mean, there's like this technology, Zoom, and all these other things and stuff, and even mobile phones. Um, so they can have lectures while it's there in the comfort of their homes and stuff. If there's anything that is stopping them from going to school, be it's maybe heavy rainfalls and all these other disasters and stuff. So it can be done. It can be done. Thank you for that. She's gone again. She's
Probably
gone
The
can't.
one problem we haven't talked about is corruption. I don't know,
Yeah,
that in another episode.
we I think we can touch that. I think we were trying to touch it. We didn't specifically mention it as corruption. Like these resources that they get, the deals that they get, the money that they acquire, they just keep it to themselves. So that is corruption. But yeah, we can highlight.
Another.
Sikyle,
Yes,
Sikyle,
please. Yes.
go ahead, and then we'll
Yeah.
speak about corruption.
Okay.
Call a spade a
Yeah.
spade and call it corruption because I wasn't giving it that name.
Yes. I think for me, what I can say, there are just certain things that I would love to highlight. One, the issue of humanity in us is another important thing. Today, we just feel like if today I can have $100,000, I'm good. I look at who is next to me. As long as we have eaten, we don't care about other people. Now, I appreciate and I always thank God that I grew up in the village, an African village. Then I came to the city, an African city. Then I moved out of the country. So now I've lived the three types of lives. And I think this has helped me to appreciate humanity. The way we were brought up in the village, we were brought up as a community. Even when we are from school, if our parents, they find us, we are fighting, Mr. Nyon will not ask whose child is this. Mr. Nyon will just get a whip and whip everyone, and it tells you that you guys, you are from one family, never should you do this again. And what we knew was that when you reach home, you should never, ever, ever tell anybody, because if you tell anybody, you'll be in trouble. So look at that culture that has not been embraced. Then we come to the city, we are told that we are educated people. If maybe Mr. Nyon there disciplining my child, I go after Mr. Nyon with a gun. Hey, why would you do that? I would cite human rights. I'm a human rights activist. I will start talking about all those kinds of human rights. But at the end of the day, the erasing of an African culture has costed us so much. If you remember very well, especially academicians and other professionals, if you have to look very well, most of our resources have been stolen within the shortest period of time when we have called ourselves having a larger population of educated people. Yet when our land was still in the hands of the chiefs, the headmen, the less educated people, our resources was protected. Now, there comes very educated, Mr. Konzanan is an educated man, very educated man. Every time we would sit and we are just planning of how much are we going to steal from Zimbabwe because we're educated. How much are we going to steal from Zambia because we're educated? And I've always reminded people, I always take time, every time I go to the village, I sit down with the villagers. Even when I'm just going, when I find villagers, I try to say something to them, to understand something to them. And this thing, I always try that, and I always pray that I'll continue doing that. Because it's like we, the educated people, have become a problem for Africa.
Yeah.
One time I had a conversation with one of the US ambassadors. We were at one of the former diplomats' house, so we had a conversation. He said something that I'll never forget. He said, do you know what? We know what happens in your country. When we give donor aid money is coming to Zambia,
We know how it enters the country. We know how your leaders steal that same money and go and hide it in America. Look at that kind of thinking.
Offshore accounts. Yeah.
Yes. The same money that we are getting out of the change from our resources is taken back by our leaders. Instead of them taking the, imagine if Mr. Nyoni has stolen today, he goes to his village and he build all kinds of structures there. If I do the same again, I go to my village, I do that same. How would have been Africa looking today?
Sorry, can you, while you're talking there, can you just talk about money laundering? How is it that a bank in Europe, in America, everywhere else, they can accept me to bring my billion into their account? How does that work? And then at the end of the day, I'm the only one who is guilty.
So, doctor, now that's why I'm saying that we, the so-called educated people in Africa, we tend to be criminals, not only criminals, but very, I don't know how I can describe, because we are letting down our people in the rural areas. We know that the largest population of Africans is in the rural areas. Yeah. Those people, they are looking up to us to come up with a decision that are not just going to save our personal interest, but our communities, where we are coming from. By so doing, we have educated communities that where if they see a stranger in the village who's trying to get something there, they will know that, oh, here we have so much wealth in this village, and this person is probably coming for this, and they'll protect that. Today, as I'm talking to you, strangers are mining in our rural areas, yet our own citizens, our own people, they are told to be working as a garden boy. That happened in my chiefdom in the previous years. People were getting animals, they make an airstrips, they are dosing animals, taking them with choppers to South Africa. Who were working with there? Our parents. Because they had no clue of what we have there. They are getting minerals, diamond, gold. Just neighbor with Zimbabwe there. My chiefdom is quite near Zimbabwe there. They were getting those minerals. So one time I went and I sat them down and said, do you know what? You people, the last 20 years that you have been working there, do you know that you have been killing us? They're like, no, what's the issue? That you are giving bicycles, but do you know what was getting outside there? We sat down and we realized that we lost billions and billions as a chiefdom. So for me, what I would just appeal to that, as educated people, let us see how level best we can give back to our community. If today I'm given a piece of land in my chiefdom, do I just want to make money as a skyden? No. I should think about what is my community, what is my chiefdom, where I've been put, what is lacking there. I would cite one of the examples. I have one farm on the Copper Belt, where I've been almost 3 years right now. There we have no school, we have no clinic. And that has bothered me a lot. That I'm sitting down with the chiefs and the traditional leader to say, whatever I'm going to generate from the farm, I want to build a school, I want to build a clinic. Excellent. So that the community benefits, and I'll make sure that that thing happens. But how many of us are willing to do that? We say, I know, because me, I'm rich, I can have 5 meals in a day, it's okay. That's what is killing us. The African culture is discarded.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair. You didn't answer my question. I said, if, for instance, I, as Dr. Swela, has been given money by donors, 5 million to use in Zimbabwe, but I take that money back into an account overseas, but they know if they do their due diligence, they know this money is supposed to be used in Zimbabwe. Can we talk about why is that money being accepted?
Doc, can I just say something over that one, Mr. Moderator, just before I go? Can I just try to answer something? I think that Doc signifies how hopeless. And even when that conversation that I've just told you, when the ambassador was narrating, it explained indirectly that we are our own enemies. And they feel like, and sometimes these people, they feel like they have, this is why sometimes we complain to say, oh no, we are being looked down, like we don't think it's because of such mindset. Imagine they give you something, go and help your people, you take it back there. That's why others that don't hold their talks, they'll tell you that we don't think. All we know is having children throughout. We don't plan, we don't do this and this. So it's our mindset.
Yeah.
It's our mindset. And this is what, and we will find that that's an educated person. Now, if an educated person can think like that, what about a villager? So that's why me, I would say the first thing that we have to do is to change our mindset. Whether uneducated, not educated, our mindset should change. What do we want as Africans? When we identify that Africa is rich and we change our mindset that we can build our continent, I'm telling you that people will be getting their monies. If they were stolen in the government, they go and rebuild in their villages. But today, people have stolen, they are taking outside in the offshore accounts. So for me, it's the mindset that we have as African. And this problem is not maybe probably in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, it's the disease for every African country. Our mindset.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So I mean, we've already dived into the topic that was asked by Stanley, that we haven't spoken about corruption. I think we're already talking about it, and maybe we'll also add ethnic violence that is happening in our in our communities because of that corruption. Actually, to answer a little bit Miriam's a question about why is it that they're allowing it to happen. I think, in short, we need to understand that corruption is not just in one area or Africa only. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. Even in Europe, there is corruption. You talk about America, there's corruption. Even China, there's corruption. But I believe that, yes, we understand that, but I believe that as a community, as Africans, understanding that the only way to move Africa forward is to be more responsible and try to cut out all those things that were seen. You see, we will never 100% stop that corruption. It's always going to be around, but it's about transforming our mindset to say, what, we've done this too much, it hasn't taken us anywhere, let's try and do something else. For example, when you look at European countries, yes, there's corruption that is happening, but there's still development. It means when maybe they are doing their own corruption, they do maybe 5% of that corruption, robbing their communities, but then they do 95% of development. So maybe if we also try to do the opposite, Africa will be better. Try and stop, those things of that are making us, take that chunk of money and put it to offshore accounts. And in those tax havens or offshore accounts, it's circulating in their community and empowering their community, and they are benefiting. That's why sometimes they allow these things to happen, and it's only a few people that are doing it. These guys that are top guys that are owning multinational companies or corporations and stuff, it's just a few, and they don't want to pay tax. And our governments as well, because of that corruption, they allow them not to pay tax and stuff, and then gain whatever they want to gain. It doesn't go to the communities, it goes into their pockets, and then they put it into offshore accounts. So Stanley, to ask you, how then do we deal with this white elephant in the house, which is corruption, and sometimes it also leads to ethnic violence? We've seen it in areas like Angola. Angola is one of the second largest countries that have got oil. We've seen so many wars there, but yes, now they're doing better, they're getting better, but corruption is still there. It's only a few people that are benefiting from that money, and the general public, they don't benefit a lot. You look at a country like Nigeria, there's 68% poverty. Angola, 43% poverty. You go to Zambia and Congo, I think Zambia is 78 and Congo is 88. So yes, how do we deal with this corruption to
Yeah.
eradicate this poverty?
No, I think one thing that we can all say, if you have I have lived in several African countries, and corruption is prevalent at the very basic level of survival in
Yes.
the everyday life. And for me, it was a choice I made that I'm not going to do it.
Mm.
And that was because I realized that this thing eats you up. You know, it eats me up as a human being. It means that I have to be complacent when I see corruption. I have to be complacent because I'm corrupt myself, right?
Mm.
So this is one of the things that we need somehow to empower in our education system again, young people to make a different choice. Yeah. Because if by the time they become old and they're into politics, if they haven't got those values, it's not going to be easy for them to
Yeah.
actually stand up for corruption.
Which
I
is
worked in, I worked
integrity and transparency. Yeah, go on,
yeah,
go on.
I worked in the construction industry in Zimbabwe, and it was almost impossible to operate without corruption. You know, and even when we were dealing with EU funded projects, there was corruption,
Mm.
which meant that if you didn't pay the bribes, you didn't get any projects.
Yeah.
You know.
Or
But then the
contracts.
question here remains still, me as a young engineer, I remember this with my friends, we talked a lot about it. Me as a young engineer, I don't have a lot, I feel like I don't have a lot of choice. You know. But of course I have a choice. Depends on how I was brought up. If I feel like, okay, this is really against the values that my mother put in me, I can go hungry and refuse to be corrupt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I just want to also come back again to the point I made about the 5 types of leadership. And I'm going to start with in the family, where I think when you talk about corruption, it can start from the family setup, where you
Mm.
will find that we are turning a blind eye to young girls who are being told, no, you are now little adults. We know in our communities of a lot of that corruption that is going on, when we know that legally children should not be married unless they are 18 years old. But we turn a blind eye to the religious, or whether it's culture, at that level. So we need the education to start from the grassroots level to say, even a parent right now, we've got families that are crying out because the father is not bringing in money as they should. And we go even to the corporate type of corruption. So my point is that whenever we have to talk about a certain ill, let's go to the foundation of it. And when we are applying it, we might apply it heavily on a certain sector or a certain persons, but we must not forget that the values, someone was talking about values, the ethics that we need to teach from the grassroots level is not just applicable to one person, but it's applicable to all of us. So as we now start looking at even the NGOs, as you were talking about, how transparent are they? Is there
Hey,
no
yeah.
corruption there? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like in a home. If I'm the eldest and you're always pointing at me, it means all the others, they'll just carry on doing whatever they are doing because they think, oh, everything else applies to me, not to them.
Mm. Mm. Thank you, thank you. So before we summarize, because I realize that we spent almost an hour, and this topic we cannot exhaust it. I think going forward we'll also take it on Twitter streets. Like Twitter, there is a lot of people there. We can connect with people from different areas and stuff. And those that do not know Twitter, we can also teach one another, because we're saying, we have to learn from one another and take advantage of these things that are, you know, uh, exposed or in front of us and stuff. So yeah, before we do conclusions, Ayo, what's your take on corruption, and then Emily, what's your take on corruption, and then we just give summaries of after that, what can we do to make Africa better, and also for us to benefit from these resources. I think we highlighted some of the things, but we can just summarize it like just one by one. So Ayo, what's your take on corruption? And
I think that within our government, there's a lot of selfishness and greed. I think there's no other way to put it, but it just boils down to those two things. And they would rather invest in their own like selfish ambitions rather than thinking of the community as a whole. Like where should money ideally be going? Which department, which sector will bring the most economic growth for the country rather than just thinking of their own selfish ambitions. Have more compassion for the people within the continent. Because if we increase our healthcare systems and education, we have the potential to grow and expand and increase. So we just need to increase our public spending rather than being selfish and greedy.
Thank you. Over to you, Emily. Is it because maybe some of them are incompetent, mixed with corruption and stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, could
uh,
be.
yeah. What is your take, Emily?
I think for
Corruption.
me, I read in history that when Cecil John Rhodes first came to northern and southern Rhodesia, he wrote to the Queen, and I can't remember the words verbatim, but he said, the way we can break these people, we cannot break these people until we break their culture. They're too united. And that's where the brainwashing started. And I was listening to Dr. Sekile talking about why we have a stigma about our rural areas. And, it's because we were brainwashed, taught to self-hate.
Yeah.
Everybody go to the city. That's where life is. That's where money is. The rural area is so yesterday, it's old-fashioned, all these things. That's the brainwashing. And yet the rural areas, that's where there's family teaching. That's where there's culture. That's where there's Ubuntu that we keep going on about. So when that was broken,
we can even develop those areas.
we lost integrity.
Yeah.
We lost personal integrity. That's how I can phone, an offshore account and send my £2 billion there, knowing that people in my village are suffering. I have no integrity. I read, or was I listening to someone, I think it's Miles Monroe, said, how was the might of Rome broken? Roman Empire, how was it broken? Today there's no Roman Empire. How was it broken? Their military was so strong, nobody could defeat them. But they started to break and disintegrate because they started to decay on the inside. And that's how when we lost our culture, we started to disintegrate on the inside. And when that happened, we became weak. And this is the source of corruption. It's selfishness, it's lack of integrity, it's no sensitivity for other people. It's all about me.
Yeah.
It's all about me. So Sikela was talking about when he was living in the village, if the kids did something wrong, another parent could discipline them. And it was fantastic. When he moved to the city, it's like, who do you think you are? So we have eroded in our own selves as a people. And to me, that's the source of lack of corruption. I think if someone said, the guy who went back, doctor from South Africa, he said, be the change you want to see. So it has to start with me. And if I start to change me, I'll influence. Development must start from the inside. You see, we could go on and on about, but for me, when you talk about corruption, it's so systemic right now. It's like a cancer. Right? You cannot, I'm going to remove it from education, from finance, from healthcare. No, it's everywhere. It just has to start with us individuals. But it was broken when this guy rang the Queen. Well, he didn't ring the Queen those days. There's no phone calls. Wrote the Queen the Queen Victoria and said, we can take this over. We can be the might of, the empire. But the first thing we need to break is their culture because they're too united. And that was the beginning of corruption. And they self-hate. Hate your village, hate your brother. I'm better than so and so, and getting rid. And Mandela has been trying before he died to bring back this Ubuntu. I mean, he was the epitome of it.
Unnecessary competition. Unnecessary competition, wanting to be better than the next person and stuff. So while you're at it, I thought about this magazine, beautiful magazine that you put together and stuff, and there's some stuff in there, and some people contributed. Sikal also put some articles there, and can you shed some light about this magazine? Because it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I mean, like as Black people, as Africans, we need to produce our own things. We shouldn't be thinking about these other magazines that are all over, the world and stuff, trying to get in there. We can, even create our own stuff and stuff, and understand that we
So,
also.
so basically, quickly, the root of that was I was traveling on a 6-hour train journey, and I was looking for I was at a train station looking for a magazine to read. I wanted to read up on Africa, and I couldn't really find anything in the shop that I was in. Massive, massive train station in England. And it bothered me. It really bothered me. So I thought, oh, maybe it's just this particular shop because it's in the center, city center. Maybe if I go to other shops in other areas, where there's more demographics are more mixed, I'll find a magazine. I didn't find any. So that bothered me for months. And after thinking a lot about it and meditating on it, I thought, you know what, we really need to find, there are magazines on hair, beauty, Black people, that's good. There's also the West African that talks more about West African politics. But I
Oh, is Emily frozen?
Yes.
Yes.
It kicked out. Okay, we'll come back to it. Anyway, we're just gonna quickly summarize. Just over to Dr. Stanley, and then we'll go to others.
Africa is celebrated. Where we're
oh,
celebrating
back.
changing the narrative. Did I break up somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah, you were frozen.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So, and just quickly. So for me, Arise Africa magazine is about celebrating the good things about Africa. It's changing the narrative, because for years the narrative of Africa is dark, it's poor, it's backward and all the rest of it. But we need to talk about the great, great, great things like I think I'll have all of you in the magazine. We need to talk about the amazing things that are happening in Africa in our healthcare. And that we are people that is loved. Actually, we are not a backward people. We are loved and we are doing well. And all these things, from things that are happening in the rural areas, like what you're talking about, MP3s, I would like to bring that up and talk about, because it's a beautiful continent. Great things are happening, but nobody talks about it. They only talk about the dark things. So that's the background to this magazine. That Africa is arising from the rural person to whoever. So we must arise together. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Thank you. So thank you for that. Over to you, Stanley. What are your thoughts? What can we do to ensure that we gain the most when it comes to our natural resources, all these precious resources that have got more value? We spoke about the all types of resources that we have: the gold, the platinum, diamonds and stuff. And that gold is 40% of it. That's what we produce for the world. So 40% is too much. Yet our continent only has 13% of the population, and then there's 18% platinum, 15% of crude oil reserves, and Nigeria is number one, and Angola as well is the second and stuff. So what can you do to benefit from these resources, ensure that we put Africa in a better place?
So
in
my passion really and my competence also lies in sustainable development, which is how do we develop in such a way that we are respecting nature, we are respecting the societies, we are also making sure we make enough adequate rate of return on investment on the investments that we make. And that's the area where I think Africa has a cutting edge here. We have a competitive edge if we compare ourselves to the rest of the world. And that's where we should focus. So if you think about the fact that cobalt, 70% of the global cobalt production is in the DRC, and that's the mineral that is critical to all the technologies that we are talking about today.
Yeah.
We would, if we produced those products in Africa, in DRC or anywhere else in Africa, we could actually change the competitive edge of Africa. The African Union has a roadmap until 2063, which is about how to develop Africa sustainably. And if we all rallied around that, we could actually change the map in terms of how Africa develops. The things we are talking about, the values, Ubuntu, the spirit of Ubuntu, it is paramount to how we as societies actually live and produce, and we should always bring that in. Let's not forget that.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Bring that into the ways that we are educating our children, in the ways in which we are developing economies, in the ways in which we are developing healthcare and all these things that we want to do. And remember that the world we are trying to copy is trying to reverse the development in order to make sure we protect the planet. So let's not copy that blindfolded. Let's really think about what does it mean for us as Africa to contribute to a world that is actually going to be available for our children and children's children.
They call it is a green revolution.
Yeah. And we have the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
My last words would be somebody who's working a lot in the rural areas, love and dignity for more than 60% of our people. So that if I'm a young girl or young boy who has lived in this abject poverty from primary, secondary, then I go to university. As soon as I finish university, I go and get a ministry job. Oh, I'm now, I've got this very big position. I should now start thinking, oh my goodness, I need to acquire so much. I need to also have this respect and so forth. So we need to go back to our roots. Let's go back to our communities and give them dignity. Just give them that respect so that when they walk around, they must know that they are very important. They must know that they are the wealthiest. They must know that, yes, they are just as good as everyone else. They don't know that. So as long as we are not involving our communities in all these things that we know about, all these values, everything that you're talking about, if 60% of our people who are the majority are just going through the cracks, by the time they're the ones that are ruling us now, they're the ones that are going into the governments, into the private sector, and some of them don't have the opportunity to go out of the country to get what that knowledge you have. So let's help each other to give them that dignity, so that at the end of the day, it shouldn't be someone from outside the country who has to change them. It should be us. And believe me, if we start from the root going upwards, it will work. It will work. Thank you so much.
Looking at the foundation, yes, not just the fruits and stuff. Dealing with Thank you. So, what is your summary, Ayo?
I would just say that. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, but your picture is frozen. But you can continue.
I think my laptop is actually like updating right now. I don't know what's going on.
All right.
I would just say that overall, we just need to remain united as a continent, and we just need to help each other out. That's what I think. We just need to try and invest more into our continent if we're from the diaspora, and for the locals, just increasing the education and the academics for the younger generation, because they're the future leaders and they're the ones that are going to take the continent further and forward.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Emily, what's your? I don't know whether we can go to Sikyle. Sikyle, is he there? Or he's working?
Hello.
What is your summary?
I think my summary is that we have a lot to do as Africans, and when we see a problem, let us come in our community. Even the politicians, we need to tell them. I know some of our politicians are very rough. When you tell them the truth, you become an enemy of the state. And they unleash the police, all kinds of weapons, taxpayers' money, they'll start working on you. But let's try by all means, trying to reach out to our people, especially people in the rural areas. We educate them. If there's something that I've found is so easy, is to deal with the people in the rural areas. Because they believe that when you are so-called educated, they have so much respect for you and they will listen to you. So everything that you are going to teach them, I'm sure they will take it very serious. And if we do that as Africans, we can make a very huge impact. Let us not neglect our communities. And those people in the diaspora, we have learned so much so far.
Mm.
Let us be eager to go back and do something in our communities, transform the mindset, even the work culture. Where we know that we are not doing fine, let us implement something and teach our people how we can be more productive, how time is managed, and how we can take care of one another. That's what I can say.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, sir. Emily.
I think I'd agree with what everybody said. It
Right.
really
Yes.
summarizes it to service. I think if we just have a culture of serving one another as Africans, and if I think I'm here to serve, right? And in serving, I'm building me up and I'm building other people up. And it's a great feeling to serve than to just think I'm here to take and it's for myself and for my family. I think I can just summarize it all in one word, and that is if African people from the youngest to the oldest could just have an attitude of serving, like Dr. Sikwela said, she's lived all over the world, but there she's in the villages doing what she's doing. I would love to come and live in a village now, but we were taught, leave the village, have a house in Borrowdale, Northmead, Woodlands, then you've made it. The people that have told you that, they've got all the estates, right? So it comes back to service, and service comes from inside. And if African people have an attitude to serve one another, it would solve, I think, almost 90% of our problems. But yeah, it would. So I just come away with the word service.
Thank you. Yeah, to add on to that, we can turn our villages into popular, places.
Absolutely.
When we invest and develop them and stuff. I mean, we've seen it with other people. Yes, whether I want to throw this one. um, yes, he was a corrupt guy, but he turned his village into. He put it in the map, and all of us now know about is it Tombo Shower.
Oh,
Yeah, you know the person that I'm talking about.
yes.
He went to build a big house there, but anyway, we lost him. He passed away. Yes, he had a colorful life. He was dodgy, but I think we can do it better than Kinimbi when he invests in our in our rural areas. um, yeah. So yeah. I think we all agreed that we need to come together. Be a strong force. Because they say no matter how talented or brilliant you are, if you're doing a solo mission, you'll always be beaten by a team. And we're not inventing any new will. Other people have tried and tested it, and they've been successful. And we always talk about Jewish people. I always, I sound like a broken record when I talk about Jewish people, that when they were in trouble, they came together. They realized that they were on their own. So they came together as a force. They ventured into businesses. They built new institutions that taught their children even generational wealth and stuff. And they moved to America as a force. And today, as we speak, they control 70% of the economy in America. And that's how they gained their country back, Israel. Love them or hate them.
Yeah.
They got it
Right
right.
now we are going to Binga, and people are dissuading me, saying, why are you going there? Can you imagine?
Binga is so
especially
rural.
people in the diaspora.
So
I'm saying, I'm going to Binga now, we are doing this because why? So thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. So it is possible when we come together, wherever we are,
Yeah.
diasporans, and then take advantage of the knowledge that we have, and we go and share it with the
Absolutely.
people in our respective countries and stuff. I mean, China has done it, Dubai has done it, so it's possible. Yes, it's a long journey, but we have to be
Start
intentional
somewhere.
and do it, because if we don't, we'll keep talking and talking. Yeah, thank you. I think Stanley
Don't
wanted to
forget
say
to get us
something.
connected, yeah.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, yes.
yes. Mhm.
I don't know if Stanley wants to join our small community. There's this
I
group
think you
called
can add him.
Stronger Together. So that's
Yeah.
where we deliberate on topics and stuff, and by the grace of
It's,
God, we'll be a powerful force
Yeah.
by mobilizing resources and stuff to go and
Please.
make a difference in not just in Africa, but not just in Zimbabwe, but across Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah,
Thank
we'll
you,
connect.
everyone.
thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
beautiful
Thank you.
people. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Bye.
serving. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.